Welcome to today's story time. I'm really glad that my name was in the announcements because I forgot. And I was all pumped up to go to the Penguin Plunge meeting with Peter Booth and all those folks. How many people here doing a plunge today? Just real quick. Anybody? Okay. Come and watch. And so I thought, gosh, maybe I should tell a story about the difficulty of being in two places at one time because we all know what that feels like, right? And I thought, well, I can only be in one place at one time, and I have to choose. We all know what that feels like, too. Well, today I chose here because I promised to be here, right? And then I thought about, it's an old saying that I remember when I'm faced with hard decisions. And it's, well, first of all of life's most important decisions are based on insufficient data. That when we're faced with the big ones, it's like we never have all the information that we wish we had to make that decision easy. And we got to make it anyway. And so one of the things that a wise friend of mine once told me is, Ronnie, just bloom where you're planted. Bloom where you're planted. So when I first told Peter I'd do this, I was thinking about, I had just come back from being in California with my mom on the last 30 days of her journey on this earth. And she had stage 4 cancer. Started in her lungs. It was no surprise that she had cancer. She was 69 years old. Check that, 79. And had been smoking for 65 of those years. So it was no surprise she had cancer. But that she was dying was still very, very real in a way it had never been. And my cousin called me and said, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know when you should come out, but I don't want you to miss. So can you come out now? And what I didn't know then that I found out when I got there was Cousin Candy really needed my help. And my mom really needed me to be there. So I said, absolutely. And I dropped everything and I talked to people here at school. And they all said, whatever you got to do, do it. We got your back. We're going to take care of everything we need to take care of at this end. You go be your mom's son. My mama. Here's how I describe my mom. Heart of gold, spine of steel, and a wardrobe from Walmart. It's genetic. So I got there, and she was doing okay. She really was. And what I thought when I left, I said to Nick Molander as I left, because he's kind of my supervisor, I said, it could be 3 days, it could be 3 weeks. I have no idea, because nobody ever does with cancer. And it ended up being a month. And in the course of that month, she was awake, alert, and responding to stimuli for probably 12 or 16 hours for the very first week, and then it got down to be about 8 or 10. And then it got down to about 4 hours a day, and she grew more and more tired. And in the midst of it all, in my mind, I was thinking, if I was a richer man, I would have screwed this up. Because if I'd had more money, I would have wanted to fly home to Vermont because we were in the middle of a football championship run. And my heart was on the field with those guys. A lot of them I've been coaching since they were freshmen. I wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to be a part of this. I needed to be with my mom. I didn't know that. If I'd been rich, I would have flown back here and we would have done what we did and finished the season. And then I would have flown back out to be there in time, by my definition of what in time is. And in hindsight, I don't like that definition. So what I did was I remembered, bloom where you're planted. I knew I was there. I knew I wasn't leaving. I knew it was really important to both of us that I be there. And when I first offered to tell this, to do storytelling today, the piece that I was remembering, I might have to put this down to tell you, but I got there and I'm almost by default in our family, the strongest and the most aware of body mechanics, of biomechanics. And so Mom would need to get out of bed and get into her wheelchair and go out into the front, where ironically enough, I lit like her last half dozen cigarettes for her that she smoked in her life. Meh. And so I would get under her And I would scoop up under her left shoulder. I would scoop up under her right shoulder. I would sit her up in bed. And that would exhaust her. And so she would just lean, completely melt into my chest and my shoulders. And so 4 or 5 times a day, I got this completely thorough, nothing else happened in the universe except this moment, hug with my mom. I would have missed all those if I'd come back to Vermont. And then I would get her into a wheelchair and we'd go out front. And I'd snark and snarl about being the one that had to light her stupid cigarette. And she'd go, I get to do anything I want. I go, yes, Mama, yes, you do. And then I'd bring her back in. I'd get her out of the chair, get her back on her bed. She'd be exhausted, so we'd rest. And I'd lay her down and hold her little head. So then another sort of philosophical cornerstone that I stand on is a notion that the abdication of one duty in service to a greater duty is no sin. I felt a duty to be with my guys on the ball field. I felt a duty to be with the people who were coming to my table to learn how to write an essay or how to do math. I felt a duty to be with the people in the group that I happen to be an advisor to and who mean the world to me in their own right. But while this is happening, as it unfolded, what I realized was I was in the midst of performing a greater duty. I was being service to my cousin Candy. I was there with my mom. She did not leave this planet alone. And so take that moment and all of the, whatever it is I just put into it, and keep it with you today. And notice when there's somebody who could use you to be there, to lift them up and let them be exhausted and lean into you completely until they catch their breath. And remember the importance of the pause. The importance of a pause between when you think an angry thought and when you say your first word. The importance of a pause of when you're hurrying to class and it becomes evident that there's 3 minutes to be spent with somebody and those 3 minutes are going to be really, really valuable. The importance of a pause when something big happens in your life and calls you to put your entire life in parentheses so you can go finish a sentence with somebody somewhere else. And it dawns on me that with everything that's going on in our nation, in our world today, if we can each remember to make one person a day the most important thing that's happening in my life, you get to be the most important thing for however long we have. And that's a good day. Thanks.